Good evening, Gals and Ghouls. Welcome back to another episode of Cryptic Insight. My name is Cedric. This is my girlfriend Jessica, and today we are doing another review within the Halloween franchise. Today we are doing Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, 2009. We are outside today, and we just thought we'd do it in the backdrop of night, get a little spooky. So,
yeah, this channel is all about the spooks.
It is. It is. So yeah, we are reviewing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, 2009, and it's a movie.
They made a movie.
It's a movie. I know similar reaction to the first movie, but
Did you want to start out with things that you liked, babe?
Yeah, let's do that. Things that we liked. Let's see. Things that I liked. Sheriff Brackett and Brad Dourif. That's definitely my favorite part of the movie is Brad Dourif's portrayal of Sheriff Brackett. I think he's the strongest actor in this. His dialogue is okay. His performance is really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, the dialogue comes from, not him.
Right.
But
Yes.
he does a good job with what he was given.
Yes, I mean yes, and so that's, and then there's one shot that I liked. Oh well, I will say too another thing that I liked. There's a kid dressed as the Wolfman during the party scene, and his makeup was really good because it was makeup. It wasn't a mask because you could tell the way the eyes were set. His eyes were set that it was makeup, and so that was really good makeup effect, honestly. So
Yeah, I also feel like if you were making out with a girl, you'd probably take off your mask at that point, especially when it appeared that they were about to have sex. He didn't take off any sort of mask. It did look very much like it was like glued onto his face.
Yes, and so I think that's and then it's strange too because the hospital scene was okay.
I thought it was an interesting idea. It seemed like an homage to the second film.
It definitely
of
is.
Halloween, which was interesting considering how much Rob Zombie was creative in the first film and decided not to go along with a lot of what was originally done in the first film. So it's interesting he did an homage right at the beginning to the second film. So that was interesting. Which I thought, I didn't think it was bad, but also it's like questionable whether or not it was actually real because it seems like a nightmare.
No, yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It was a nightmare. So I guess we can use it as our transition. I don't think I have anything else nice to say about this movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess the filming was all right, but it was nothing like the original where I had anything like spectacular that stood out about the videography of this film. It's not bad filming, but it was nothing that like really stood out to me that was like, oh yeah, that was a good shot of lighting in that. So
except for that one house scene, like when he goes across when they're in Laurie's house, Sheriff Brackett's house, and they're about to discover Annie's body, and then it's the wide shot of the house, and Michael goes across the window very quickly. That shot I liked.
I do like, I guess, also the way that they angled for Annie when she was on the floor. But, it's interesting, too, because Michael, especially this actor who's playing Michael,
Tyler Mane,
is such a big guy that, like,
he's
sometimes
I'm
like, how is he hiding behind this tiny tree?
Well, yes. And so the movie overall feels disjointed.
Yes.
And as I'm sure a lot of us are aware of, Rob Zombie started off in music first. And his music videos were, it's very apparent. It is of the same style. It just feels a lot like when you watch one of his music videos. It's very grungy, very art housey, kind of expressionistic, individualistic, and it's just like he didn't take the time to separate the fact that he was doing a movie instead of a music video.
Well, and kind of like what you were saying too is like it is very grungy, and it's interesting because they're supposed to be living in the sheriff's house when like the bathrooms and like all the walls are like spray painted. And
We know you don't like that spray paint.
well, it's not that there can't be spray paint, but like kind
But
of
why is it in their bathroom?
take into account the setting that you're supposed to be in.
Right.
Like, sure, she can be grungy, but you got like this is supposed to be a suburban sheriff's household.
Mhm.
Like that is not normal
No.
for a suburban sheriff's household.
Right.
And like it just seemed very grungy. Even when there wasn't spray paint on the walls in like the kitchen, everything was black.
Or just very bleak. Again, a lot like the filtering on his shots were a lot like from his music videos. And so the cinematography and the lighting was not great in this movie. Yeah, and then of course Rob Zombie's dialogue is never the strongest point of any of Rob Zombie's films, unfortunately.
He tends to steer more towards like talking about sex. And this one he actually did it less than the original one, which I appreciated. And there was also actually somewhat positive, I guess. He did focus at times on the girl's trauma and didn't just talk about sex. But
Yes,
even
they did have the trauma, and again, going back, kind of pedaling back a little bit with the grunginess and Laurie becoming kind of punk, not necessarily full on goth, but more punk. I can see that being something that could happen for her, but again, I do feel even with trauma that it is a stretch for a student like Laurie Strode. Me personally, I just don't feel like that would be a natural progression for the character. Now, granted, could I see that being something that could happen? Yeah, sure, right? I mean, I think he's going towards a more stereotyped kind of exploration of trauma, especially for a teenage girl. Oh, you got trauma, and now you're a punk bad girl, and you listen to punk music and metal music. That's all well and done, but I think that's a bit more of Rob Zombie in his personal life and tastes coming through a little bit more, which is fine. But again, for me, I don't think as I know Laurie Strode, I don't think that's a natural progression for the character.
yeah, and going back to a little bit with Michael as well, I didn't necessarily like the almost hallucinations that were happening throughout the entire film. And the fact, when we've mentioned this before, that he basically didn't wear his mask half the time during the film.
Yeah.
He did put it on. Most of the time when he killed, he put it on. But he was like wandering around. He didn't have his mask on at all. And then it seemed almost like you were on acid or on some sort of hallucinogenic when it was like going back and forth between his mom. And even at times before Laurie was taken by Michael, she was seeing visions of her mom and younger Michael, which was interesting. That she was being like sort of brought in on like almost like a group hallucination, even though she hadn't even
it was
met
like
her mom.
It's like as if the family's a hive mind. They're like symbiotic. It's just, it's strange. The whole white horse thing, Michael seeing his mom in visions, and then of course getting around Michael not talking by having his child version of himself through these visions talk for him. I mean,
yeah. And
he doesn't talk in a lot of that. So I mean, Michael himself as an adult does not talk, but
yeah, they're like talking through his younger version. Yeah,
right. And so again, it's kind of like a direction of the character that I'm like, what is happening?
And then we haven't even touched on Loomis yet.
Oh yeah, Loomis is a dick.
Yeah, it's just interesting because in the first Rob Zombie film, I actually liked Loomis, and he seemed like a good Loomis.
Again, another progression that doesn't seem natural for a character from the first film. And even Annie. Annie is so mother hen, but also super strict.
Yeah,
and just like irritated all the time at things. And it's, again, this could be, again, you can say, yeah, sure, trauma changes people, whatever. I especially for Loomis, trauma wouldn't make you fame hungry.
Well, and he in the original film too was like trying to protect people, even in the
Right, he was altruistic,
Yeah.
whereas this Loomis is selfish, greedy,
and greedy, yeah.
and narcissistic.
And he doesn't hear himself.
No.
Like, he's acting as though everyone's like bullying him and is like trying, or like is out for him, and he's not hearing what other people are saying about how he's coming across.
No, not at all. And the poor just lady that his manager or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
God, she just takes all kinds of verbal abuse from him, and then of course it takes a moment of everything coming to a head at the end of the movie for Loomis to have a redeeming arc.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I'm an ass." And I'm like, "Okay. So what finally brought you to the light that you were being an asshole?"
Right. Well, it was the ending, and then of course too, the interview that he rewatched, and he like felt embarrassed, and then he realized, oh, I'm a dick, and it's like, okay. It took Weird Al and Chris. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name in real life. Chris, I think they're portraying themselves in the movie. Chris Hardwick, I think is his name. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, that was interesting just to see Loomis's entire arc. I just don't think it's a natural progression. But
and his weird behavior towards females in this film. He was like flirting with like one of the interviewers, and then he made a weird comment towards one of the women he signed a book for.
Oh yeah, are you a real redhead?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's just creepy.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Well, and God, and then of course then we go into Michael and his mask, and the stripper ripping off the mask. So it's like half the mask. He doesn't really wear the mask for half the movie.
Yeah. And then there's the it's interesting, the alternate endings that we
There's two endings. So I like the one where he doesn't talk. I don't like the one where he talks.
I mean, either way, I do have a problem. The one where he talks obviously is more
Okay, let me rephrase. I don't like either ending. I like the one where he doesn't talk more.
Yes.
But it's still not a great ending.
It's not a great ending.
No.
It's interesting, too, because it's almost like an homage to the fourth movie, where it's like passing on the evil or the...
To a family member.
Yeah, to a family member. Because either she died at the ending of the movie...
Mm-hmm.
By being shot by police officers, and then she's either dead or in an asylum, or she...
No, dead, and like, is her consciousness now, like, you don't even know how to interpret the scene after she dies.
Well, I'm saying that she could have lived, or she could have died.
Yeah, or she could have, like I said, you don't know how to interpret the scene after, because she gets shot, and then we cut to a white, heavenly asylum, right? It's like a white, like a lot of filmmakers will use dramatic white rooms like that to insinuate heaven or passing on or some type of afterlife. But also it is kind of dressed up like
an asylum,
a psych ward.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do we take that scene after she gets shot?
Yeah.
But,
and then in the other version, she comes out after, like, Michael falls into, what is it called? He falls into some sort of machine.
It's like a farming machine.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pitchfork, but there's too many blades for it to be a
it's
pitchfork.
Like
I'm not sure.
They like, it goes in the ground, it like pokes holes in the ground to help, dig up the dirt and help plant seeds. But anyway, he falls into that, gets like impaled.
Yeah.
And then she comes, she's like, grabs his face, she's like, "I love you, Michael."
And then stabs the shit out of him.
And then he had the knife up behind her.
Like, he was trying to kill her.
Yeah, and then he like drops his hand down, drops the knife. She grabs the knife, and like, I'm sorry, the knife is like as big as her head. Like, bigger than her head.
It is a large hunting knife because it is serrated on the sides.
Yes, and she just like stabs him and
More like a machete.
Yeah, and then like stabs him in the face, and then she walks out wearing his mask and like kneels down on the ground. Yeah, it's basically falling apart.
Yeah, which I get. We're going for a worn mask, so sure, I get it. It's just hard. It's just hard as a Michael Myers fan when he's known for the mask. It's hard. I get it. We're going for some type of realism with a decaying mask. I get it, but And Tyler Mane looks scary. I mean, he does. I'm not like even without the mask, he looks.
He's very intimidating.
He's a very intimidating man, and I would still like to get his autograph on a mask. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, this movie just doesn't have a lot of things I like in it, which is weird because it just definitely feels, the film is weird is what I meant, because it's so disjointed. There's so many dreams. It's like you're on acid. Everything is just doesn't feel connected.
You're like, why are we going from this dramatic to this other dramatic
Right.
point?
Right. I mean, I can't remember if it's Bill Moseley. I don't think. No, it's not Bill Moseley. Can't remember the actor's name. One of the what are they called? Come in and take the bodies. Paramedics.
Oh,
not paramedics.
I mean, paramedics often do, but
right. But isn't it like I thought there was like a special term for when they come and take the bodies.
I'm trying to think, like the mortician.
Mortician? No, morticians dress up the bodies. No.
Yeah,
No. It might just be paramedics.
Yeah, I think
the
that they generally grab the body and they take it to a morgue for them
Right.
to do an autopsy.
Right.
Generally, I mean, depending on whether or not an autopsy is needed.
Right. But again, it's at the beginning of the film, and Rob Zombie's dialogue is just, I mean, we've got them talking about fucking corpses, and then we've got and then after the ambulance crashes into a cow, we've got the actor just screaming fuck for, I think, 3 minutes. He's just saying fuck. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all he's saying. Now, I get it. Yeah, it's probably shock, but what? Why did that need to be 3 minutes of the movie? That's a scene I probably would have cut down quite a bit.
Yeah.
I personal taste, I guess. But yeah, overall, for me, it's short and simple. This video doesn't need to be too much longer.
No.
It's
not the best Halloween movie ever.
no. It's definitely, in my opinion, the worst film in the franchise.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
I'm gonna have to give this one like a 0.8.
What'd you give the last one?
Like a 2.5, 2 point something. I gave it like a 2. I'm gonna give this one a 0.8 out of 5 tombstones, mostly because it goes against everything I love about Halloween. It just doesn't go well together. It really does feel like it just doesn't feel like it fits in the franchise.
No, I'm probably gonna have to do like I hesitate on giving any movie a 0, but I'll give it a 0.5 because literally thinking about rewatching this film is hard.
I only really do it in October when I'm doing my Halloween marathon. This is I've never reached for this movie.
Yeah.
Out of genuine, like, if I think of like when there's the time when I genuinely want to watch a Michael Myers movie, I'm never going to genuinely go automatically to this movie out of just sheer desire, right? I mean, I would probably be way more likely to get the first one, Rob Zombie's first one.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm probably only in the mood to watch that one once in a blue moon outside of October marathons that I do. Which is about it. I mean, I'm not going to, or unless someone's like, I've never seen Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, you should watch that, and I'll go, okay.
Yeah, no, I think even today we were a little bit procrastinating on starting the film. And that's the thing is this film,
if you're dreading watching a movie, it's not a good sign.
Yeah. And I've seen it before. It was interesting, though, too, because the version we watched was the Canadian version, which had an alternate ending.
On the box, it said it was the theatrical.
Oh, theatrical. I thought it was
so
the
that
Canadian.
was the one that was released in theaters.
Oh.
So the other ending, where Michael says, die,
was
Rob Zombie's choice.
Of course it was.
Pardon me.
Which makes the
When I
movie
looked disheveled
worse.
Because, you have adult Michael Myers speaking.
Never.
Speaking.
Never. Okay. First, Why of all things he could say to Loomis, a guy who he like hasn't
It
seen?
wasn't even
like,
satisfying.
no, it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't like
No.
a fuck you to Loomis. It was.
No.
It's like, so what?
Or like, I am your failure, or something dramatic. Make me feel something if you're gonna make Michael Myers say
Literally
something.
made me feel nothing, and I thought
It
it was
made me
a
want to vomit.
pointless statement.
It made me want to vomit.
Well, I meant nothing in the fact like it
It
wasn't.
made me want to vomit.
It wasn't worth Michael speaking, you know? And I don't think Michael should speak.
No.
Personally. He
No,
doesn't
but
even...
if you're like you said, if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
it needs to be like, oh fuck, okay, all right. I didn't like that he talked, but damn. But no, we didn't even get that.
No. It was really dramatic.
I
For
need you all at home to look
no
at me.
reason.
I need you all at home to look at me and post in the comments. Because I know there's people out there that like this movie, and I don't want to shit on them. How do you defend Michael Myers talking and saying, die?
Well, they're probably going to say, oh, it's different. It's something new. And I'm like, just because it's something new doesn't mean it's good.
Well, yes, but I'm genuinely curious. I want to know if you guys like that. If there are those out there that like that, I want you to comment down below and give your reasoning why, right? Honestly, give me something to think about. No, seriously, I do. And I mean, I'm not saying that like as a critique on you guys or anything. I genuinely am curious. I want to be in your guys' shoes. Like, what are you guys like? Are people who like it? Are you guys like not super into Halloween? Are you like, is it not your favorite franchise? Right? So you're kind of like, oh, whatever. You know, I'm sure he talked or
Like
you know,
something new.
yeah. And so comment down below. I mean, you know, we all like horror movies. You guys can definitely like this movie. I can't understand it, but that's okay. That's me. It's not you. And you're more than welcome to love this movie. You know what? If you do love this movie, I'm glad you have it in your life to enjoy. We all need to find that joy right now. So,
That's true.
but at the end of the day, yeah, just comment down below. Let me know that scene in particular. I'm just very curious because it baffles me to this day. As a diehard Michael Myers fan, Halloween fan, so.
And of course, it would be something that Rob Zombie wanted in the film. I feel like it's always the scenes he wants in the film that make me like the film less. Like in the first one, it was the rape scene. And then
Right.
in this one, it's Michael Myers talking. It's like,
Oh, we didn't talk about Brad Dourif's scene when he finds his daughter.
You sort of mentioned it, but you didn't get into
I mentioned that Brad Dourif is my favorite part.
Yes,
I don't
go
think
for
I
it.
talked about that scene. That was a great scene. So going back to kind of like scenes that we're like, oh, this is what we like. That scene is great. Brad Dourif is great. Brad Dourif is a horror icon. Thank you, Brad Dourif, for making that movie much better.
Yes.
Thank you for always giving it your all. I don't think you're ever going to watch this, but if you do, thank you so much for giving 100% of your efforts into all the horror movies that you do. Thank you for making... I mean, if I see Brad Dourif in the cast, I'm going to be like, oh, he's going to probably be one of the better parts, if not one of the best parts of this movie. So, yes, I wanted to quickly mention that because Brad Dourif deserves it in such a movie that I think he outperforms. Yeah, he outshines, he outperforms that movie, personally. And yeah, I just wanted to shout out Brad Dourif real quick because he's just so good, and especially in that scene in the Rob Zombie version where he finds Annie and they kind of let him strut his acting chops, so to speak. He gets to be emotional, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty good, and I do like that, and definitely it was a good scene with his reaction, and then the police officers having to carry him out.
Yes. So overall, we don't like the movie.
How could they guess?
And that's okay. That's why franchises are great, though. There's a movie in there for everybody. If you like Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, more power to you. I'm glad that you have that film in your life. Check us out for our next review of Halloween 2018. Yes, very excited to talk about that film. I'm excited to get out of the Rob Zombie movies. Yeah, so check us out for Halloween 2018, and we're getting close to wrapping up the Halloween franchise. Keep an eye out for our ranking videos later to come out. We're going to do mask rankings. Probably, even though you could probably kind of just put together our ratings, we'll probably do like our own tier lists of the films themselves. We've got all kinds of stuff planned to wrap up the Halloween franchise on this channel. And then stay tuned for what movies we do next after Halloween. Stay creepy, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.